Hi, everyone. Thanks for coming to Christmas Agape. So Katie Dalton is the director of the Women's Center here at BC, which cultivates a campus culture that fosters the advancement of women and inspires all students to discover and embrace their full potential. Katie received both her undergraduate degree in psychology and her master's degree in higher education administration from Boston College. Katie enjoys being active and indulges her competitive side whenever possible. She and her husband, also a Boston College graduate, can often be found skiing, testing out barefoot Contessa recipes, or pushing their two young sons, Liam and Teddy, in a jogging stroller around Milton. So without further ado, Katie Dalton.
I went to Boston College. I'm one of you. I strive to achieve. I try to do so without making it seem like I'm trying at all. I feel this internal pressure to be perfect in every way. And this internal pressure really followed me from college into graduate school, later into my marriage, and more recently into motherhood. I became a mom on April 22nd, 2012, to Liam Joseph Walsh. Liam has bright red hair, dancing eyes, and a smile that makes it always seem like he's conspiring something. This is Liam. So I felt that motherhood was an opportunity for me to continue on this path of quote-unquote effortless perfection that actually was a lot of effort. In particular, to be able to instill faith into my children's lives. And I feel like that was an amazing gift, an amazing opportunity to be able to, from that first moment of someone's birth, be able to introduce them to a life of faith. So coming home from the hospital, my husband and I drove into our driveway, and I turned to my husband, Brian, and I said, I'd like to walk to our parish, St. Elizabeth's, which is about a block and a half from our house, to thank God for this new member of our family. So we got out of the car with Liam wrapped in a light blue blanket and walked down the street, which was kind of dotted by our neighbors, giving us congratulatory wishes and remarking at how beautiful our new baby was. We crossed the main street and walked into the driveway of St. Elizabeth's, up the path, which it was late spring, so there were daffodils and tulips and just seemed super picturesque. We walked up the short steps of St. Elizabeth's, and as I looked in the glass doors, I pictured us walking down the aisle and kneeling at the altar and saying a prayer of thanksgiving to God to start a perfect faith journey for this perfect child. So I leaned to the door and I went to pull it, and it was locked. Strike one on this perfect life, faith journey. A few weeks later, when I deemed it safe to bring Liam to Mass after he'd received all of his immunizations, I was a first-time mom and a little neurotic about anyone touching the baby or getting any germs or anything like that. Brian and I felt like it was really important to introduce Liam to the ritual of liturgy. So what better of a way to kind of help him understand our faith than instilling that rhythm of liturgy and giving him that opportunity to hear the music and to really feel welcomed into our church. So when he was young and the first few months, we sat with him, a sleeping, peaceful baby, and we listened to the readings and the gospel. We listened to all of this from a really different lens, the lens of parents. And we were able to have different conversations about Mass, following, and being able to talk through what the readings meant to us and what the gospel meant to us in the homily, just based on the fact that we were now parents and we had tremendous new responsibilities. Now that sleeping child quickly changed, and he changed into someone who we had to contain at Mass. So we went from rocking the sleeping child and listening to containing and trying to make sure that Liam didn't escape from the pew. He did escape from the pew many times. This is a picture of Liam at a wedding that we went to this summer, surrounded by no one because he was on the opposite side of the church than where the wedding was actually taking place. One of the most notable times at our parish that he escaped, he made it all the way up to the altar. and sat there staring at Father Aiden, giving his homily, super quiet, just staring at him, completely ignoring my husband who was behind him saying, "Get back here, get back here." After Mass, a number of parishioners came up to us and said, he looked like an angel up there. And we thought this was like the most less than angelic moment for us. We were like panic stricken that we were ruining Mass for so many people. Most recently, he's now 2.5, he has become very verbal. And what we've spent Mass now, instead of trying to contain him physically, we try to contain him verbally and try to keep him quiet. So we try to keep him from giving the normal shout outs when we walk in. And we usually walk in 5 to 10 minutes late because it's so chaotic in the morning to just get him ready and get him out the door. That he'll often walk in late and remark, "There's Judy, Mommy, there's Judy." To which we're like, "Shh, stop." On a recent occasion, he started yelling, "Amen," at like super inopportune times. And in a less than reverent kind of way. So perhaps for us, fostering faith for our children should happen in a less public way. And a ritual that I started with Liam right around when he was born was to read him stories and then shut off the light and spend time kind of cuddling with him at the close of each day and asking him what he was thankful for. And though he couldn't respond early on, being able to tell him what I was thankful for the day. And then I'd say, we need to thank God for this. And we'd say the Our Father, and we'd do the sign of the cross. And I love routines, so this was great for me. And I also felt like it was great for him to just start to understand, almost an examinito of sorts, for those of you who are familiar with the examen. And this kind of has progressed now that he can start to understand and start to conceptualize. He answers back when I ask him what he's thankful for. And he's pretty fantastic at the art of procrastination. So often he'll say, what you thank you for, Mom? What are you thank you for now? What are you thank you for now? I'm like, we already went through this and it's time to get in your crib. But I hear from him at the close of each day what the most egregious injustice was at daycare, who took his toys, but then who hugged him after, and who he's thankful for. And more often than not, his favorite person in the world is my sister Kelly, Yaya, as he calls him, who's here tonight. And Yaya makes the top of the list pretty much every night. So on a recent occasion when I said to Liam, well, let's thank God for these people and for these things before saying the Our Father, he turned to me and he said, who God? Where he live? I want to see him. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is my moment. This is my moment to instill the perfect answer so that he can, years from now, talk about this in his Kairos talk at Boston College. So I kind of gathered myself and I got myself together, ready to launch into kind of a diatribe about the mystery of our faith, when, given the fact that a 2-year-old's attention span is about 3 seconds, he noticed a spider on the ceiling that he all of a sudden switched and was like, we need to get that down right now, right now. And I was like, well, let's talk about God. Nope, the spider. So strike 2, or maybe that's 3, on this journey of quote unquote faith perfection. So Christmas. When I think about Christmas, I think about it as a time for growing up. We had numerous traditions, one of which was baking chocolate gingerbread cookies. And I can almost smell rolling out the dough and cutting the cookie dough into shapes, Christmas shapes, icing them and packaging them up for neighbors. And thinking about Christmas and Advent, I can almost feel that sticky clay that we'd use in CCD to roll into kind of long snakes and form into circles that we'd line with birthday candles that were purple and pink to make mini Advent wreaths. I can almost see the little sparkle in my little sister's eye the year that she was the receiving angel for the Christmas pageant. So as I think about these things and think about my Christmas with my children, my husband and I have talked a lot about bringing new traditions into our home. And this is a great opportunity for us to start those and for us to create the memories that our children will talk about when they're in college or perhaps when they're parents themselves. So last year, sorry, I want to make sure I show you all these great pictures. Last year, we decided it would be really important to help Liam understand that Christmas wasn't really about presents of toys, but it was more about this gift of Jesus. And how do you do that in a culture that's so set on consumerism, that starts Black Friday on Thursday evening? So what we thought this was a groundbreaking idea, but I'm sure many of you did this growing up. We thought we'll have a birthday party for Jesus on Christmas. So we'll help kind of contextualize this and help him understand. He knew what birthday parties were. So we bought this beautiful cupcake on Christmas Eve with the intention of kind of bringing it around and wherever our last stop ended up being, kind of singing a happy birthday to Jesus and blowing it out and having the cake. Now, I know not many of you in here are parents, but if you are, you know, you have to tote all kinds of crap around when you have kids. And between like going from one house to another and unpackaging stuff and packaging up all the toys that he got, somehow we misplaced the birthday candle. So at the end of the day, what it really felt like was just really encouraging Liam to eat another sugary treat without really the meaning of the actual day coming through. So we're not doing so well on this faith journey. So this year, we decided to bring Elf on the Shelf into the picture. And for those of you who are unfamiliar with Elf on the Shelf, because it's a relatively new phenomenon, Elf on the Shelf is this brilliant, brilliant plan to sell these really creepy looking elves to willing parents who will buy them so that they can bribe their children to act appropriately during the craziness of the holidays. So I thought, okay, Liam doesn't understand, can't really conceptualize God, but perhaps we could insert Elf on the Shelf as kind of like a conduit between like our house and heaven. And instead of Santa, maybe we could say that the elf was going to see God. So I started to prep Liam the day before we unveiled the Elf on the Shelf. And I said to Liam, you know, God watches over us all the time, not in a creepy way, but in a really loving way. And he's always there. And if God sent someone to us, what would that person's name be? And wouldn't it be so awesome if he said Jesus? Yes. Well, Liam said donut, like almost immediately. Donut. So perhaps Jesus liked donuts, or perhaps the donuts after Mass that we bribe Liam with are what Liam most sees connected with God. But at the end of the day, we have a creepy looking elf named Donut, who now I feel like is almost perpetuating consumerism as opposed to helping us help Liam understand what the meaning of Christmas is. So certainly this is not the perfect faith journey that I started out. And certainly we haven't created perfect traditions. But perhaps Father Himes is right. And perhaps it's in our imperfections that we are most human. And it is in that humanness that we are most Christ-like. What I tried to do and what I have been trying to do is craft and manufacture and manipulate traditions. I haven't left any room for authenticity. I've been intentional, but not authentic. I haven't left room for traditions to unfold themselves. I certainly haven't been like Mary and just been open to the receiving of the Spirit. When I think back to Advent last year and to Christmas last year, I see the Spirit in the places that I just let it come. I see the Spirit on the Wednesday mornings that I'd gather with faculty and staff colleagues in the Center for Ignatian Spirituality to talk through what Advent meant. And I see the Spirit in those conversations with fellow staff and faculty who also have children, who are struggling with the same things that I'm struggling with now. I see the Spirit on that Christmas Eve last year when we walked home from church, and instead of going immediately home, we went to the infamous Judy from the Hey, That's Judy, her house across the street, and spent some time with her and her husband to celebrate the fellowship of our neighborhood and the strength of the community on our street. And God was definitely there when we went home, and rather than kind of entering into this big dinner that we knew Liam wouldn't eat anyway and that would just end up being a struggle, we kind of folded, and we went with his favorite meal. And we had chocolate chip pancakes for Christmas Eve dinner. And Jesus and Christ were there when we were mixing the batter and throwing in way too many chocolate chips and eating pancakes that were sopping with syrup. The Spirit was there the next morning when, instead of running immediately downstairs and pushing Liam to open gifts, we instead welcomed him into our bed, and we snuggled with him before the quote-unquote performance of the day started. The Spirit was there later that day when, after Liam had opened zillions of toys and was surrounded by them, rather than picking them up and playing with them, he decided to snuggle up with my dad, his puppy, and to spend time with him, rather than to be consumed by all of the gifts that he had been given. Now, we have a new gift this year. We had another son last February, so this is his first Christmas. His name is Teddy Peter Walsh. He is the best. So with Teddy, I want to set the redo button. I really want to stop with the manufacturing and the performance and the manipulation of traditions. And I really want to let the Spirit in. I really want to allow myself to be perfectly happy with perfect imperfection. I want to be like Mary. I know Mary didn't want to deliver Jesus in a manger in a stable, but she did. I want to be perfect by being perfectly imperfect. And I just want to close with a medieval prayer for Advent. Thou shalt know him when he comes, not by any din of drums, nor any flourish of his airs, neither by his crown nor his gown, nor by anything he wears. But his coming known shall be by the holy harmony that his presence makes in thee. Amen.